A Place Called Home by Laurie Wick, Chapter 48. Oh no! Bad news? Yes, it's from Paul. He's not coming home for Christmas. Does he say why? Oh, let me see. Grandma M looked back at the letter in her hand. It says here he'll be helping in a small church whose pastor was suddenly taken ill. He says, as much as I want to be with you right now, these people need a pastor at Christmas time. Grandma M stopped and blew her nose. It just won't be the same without him. Christine didn't know what to say. She knew the entire family would be sorely disappointed, since it was already December 12th and Christmas was less than 2 weeks away. It was too late to send Paul's gifts along to him. On Christmas morning, we'll set aside all of Paul's gifts to box up and send to the school. They'll be waiting for him when he returns. That's a good idea. Thank you, Christine. Grandma M was beginning to look happier. Christine sensed that Grandma M wanted to be alone, so she bundled up for a trip back downtown. But you just went, Grandma M said in surprise. Yes, but there's a lot of things I forgot. Christine smiled and went out the door. Baxter's General Store was small, but packed to the hilt with barrels of molasses, kerosene lamps, sacks of flour, a shiny new plow, and bolts of fabric. Christine could have looked all day. She picked out the buttons she needed to finish Luke's Christmas present and then found 2 beautiful ribbons for Emily. She picked up extra yarn to finish the mittens for Calvin and Charles. Christine took a few minutes after paying for her purchases to count out her money and decided to pay some more on her medical bill. The walk to Mark's place was cold, and Christine kept her head down against the wind. Had she been looking up, she would have seen a familiar horse out front. "Well, Christine! What are you doing out on such a cold day?" Mark spoke and stepped to take her coat. "Oh, I'm not staying. I just came to pay on my bill. Please, Mark, please let me pay without a lecture this time." Mark agreed, but Christine could see he was not happy about it. He was still standing by the front door after Christine left when he heard Luke's footsteps on the hardwood steps. Luke looked at the money in Mark's hand before turning questioning eyes to his brother. "Don't say it, Luke. I've tried to talk with her, but you've got one independent woman on your hands." Luke certainly couldn't argue with that. His hand went to his back pocket. He handed some bills to Mark. "If this doesn't cover it, let me know. If it's too much, put the balance in Christine's bank account." Luke reached for his hat and coat. "Are you going to tell her?" "Right now. If the next time you see me I have a few battle scars, you'll know why." Christine had just taken off her things when Luke came in the front door. "Hello," he called out, and Christine came from the kitchen. "Luke, I didn't know you were in town." "Actually, I was just at Mark's, but you left in such a hurry that you didn't see me." "Oh, well, I just needed to pay on my bill and get home. It's too cold to be out." Luke took Christine's hand and led her over to the couch. "I talked to Mark after you left. I paid off your bill." Luke watched as a frown covered Christine's face. "Why?" she asked flatly. "Why what?" "Don't mince words with me, Luke. I don't like to be a burden to anyone. You did not need to pay my bill." "I realize I didn't need to pay your bill, but I wanted to. It was no burden. I had the money, and it was my pleasure." Christine couldn't come up with an argument after the simple, practical way he stated his case. Luke watched as she stood and paced a bit before coming to stand before him. "It just doesn't seem right." "I love you, Christine, and I want to take care of you. What could be wrong with that?" Again, she had no argument. Christine stood for a moment in thought before bending and kissing Luke's cheek. "Thank you," she stated humbly, and Luke knew it had cost her. He was sure that in her own mind she was accepting a handout. Before Luke could yield to the temptation of pulling her down into his lap, he said, "Where's Gram?" Christine sat down beside him before she spoke. "I think she's upstairs. Your brother Paul wrote, and he's not coming home for Christmas. I'm sorry, Luke." Luke's face fell. "Our first Christmas without Paul. It won't be easy. I'll go up and see her." Christine went into the kitchen to work on lunch. She prayed for Grandma M and the family, asking God to give them a special peace about Paul's absence. She ended her prayer with a thankful heart that God had led her to a man as kind and sensitive as Luke Cameron.